Get your code cracking skills ready. This is our preview of Classified Information.
Classified Information is a fast-playing deduction game for 2 players, and I like deduction games because it lets me live out my fantasy of being a great detective.
It's a fun puzzle to solve, and I'm excited to discover more of the components in the Kickstarter. We'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play. Each player starts off with a suitcase containing a secret 3-digit code, and the goal of the game is to discover your opponent's secret code.
The game is played over a series of turns, with each player drawing a card and playing a card on each turn.
Players will deploy, encrypt, and enlist their cards in order to discover information about their opponent's codes.
The game ends when the deck runs out and each player is left with 1 card.
If a player's final card matches the number in their opponent's code, they win. If both players match the code, the player with the most guard cards wins. We were sent a copy of Classified Information from the creators so that we could do this preview video.
To find out more information or to back the Kickstarter, check out the links in our description below.
And before you go cracking codes, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button.
We really appreciate the love.
Classified Information is a fun, fast game to play. It's a deduction game, but it's also a strategy game because you have to end the game with 1 card, and that card has to match 1 number in your opponent's code. So even if you know your opponent's code, the very first turn you can learn their suitcase number, be like, I know what your code is, but you still have to get to the end of the game with a card that can then crack their code. They gotta not block it with any guards, or you gotta assassinate their guards if they do. You have to have that card to get it. So it's deduction and strategy, and I like the combination of those 2 things.
Yeah, because normally with deduction games, it's like, I know the code. And it's like, yep, you win, good job. Or I know the code. Nope, you're wrong. Game over, you lose.
You're out of the game, yeah.
So, but with this one, yeah, I really did like that because, half the game is like, okay, well, it's not this. You're crossing stuff out. And the second half, you're like, okay, got it. But, depending how early or late you are in the game, it's like, oh, well, those cards are there and that's, well, I guess I just need cards.
I know the numbers now, and they're all in the discard, and there are some abilities that let you go through the discard and do different things. However, it's still like, oh, how am I going to get what I need? I know the number. I know what the code is. How am I going to defeat it? And I do like that because it's like, okay, yeah, it's like you were saying. Yes, you've cracked the code. If you're really on a mission, a secret mission assignment, you've cracked the code, but you still have to accomplish the mission. Just knowing the code isn't enough.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, I know his code, but then it's like, oh, but he knows I know his code. And so it gets there, it's like, but you play pretty quick and it's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. And but I have more guards. Okay, I win. And then set it up, play it again.
On your turn, when you play a card, you can either play it for its ability, which you'll then discard, giving the other player information, or you can play it as a guard, protecting one of yours, or you can play it as an assassin, going after one of your opponent's guards, or you can encrypt it so that the other player won't get any of that information that's on that card. So there's 3 different ways that you can go about, and depending on where you are in the game could determine when you're going to perform one of the actions. You're like, oh, well, this doesn't help me as one of the guards. I don't want to do any of these abilities. I'll just encrypt it and hold the information back. Or it's sort of like, okay, well, he knows my number, at least he should, because I told him what my suitcase number was, so he should know what I'm going with. So now I need to protect myself with the guards. If I get one of the guards for each of these numbers, or if I have these numbers and I encrypt it, then he can't go after it. So lots of different strategies of ways that you can go about protecting yourself depending on where you are in the game and what information you know your opponent has.
Now, although I like deduction games and I have a lot of fun, there's that like first when you're learning it and playing it, you're sitting here with like your little card or your little notepad and you're like, okay, I know the information that it's telling me, but how do I effectively jot it down so I'm going to remember this like 3 turns from now? So I think the little information card that you get does a really good job at helping you keep track, or it's more intuitive as far as like, oh, okay, yeah, let's mark this down. For example, when you're playing Clue though, it's like, oh, well, hold on, Kenny was here when he did that and he guessed these and wait, was that right? I have troubles with the note taking, but in my mind, like in the very beginning, I keep it straight. And this bit more intuitive and helps me keep it straight.
Yeah, because for the most part, you're just crossing off what was revealed. So in the game, there are 2 of every suitcase number. So once you eliminate those 2 cards, you know that it's not your opponent's suitcase. You can cross those numbers off and you can eliminate them pretty quick. And the game does play really quickly because you're only ever going to play with 18 cards. Now, this is a prototype that was sent to us. It's one set, so it was sent in the small box. So we only have 18 cards, but there's more cards available. And you can choose which decks you want to play with, and they'll have different abilities that you can use on the cards, which will help change up the games and add some variety to the games. However, because there's only 18 and you're playing until each player only has one card left, it goes quickly. So you deal a suitcase, you have 2 encrypted cards from the start, and then each player is dealt 2 cards, and then you draw, play a card, draw, play a card. So it's gonna play less than 10 minutes, definitely less than 20 minutes, and it's only cards basically and note taking, or you can take notes on your phone if you wanted to. So you can travel anywhere with it too.
Yeah, with deduction games, it just reminds me of those like movie or TV scenes where there's a big board and there's like yarn being drawn. You're like, okay, well this can't happen because of this. So all that's kind of fun and everything. You're like, ah, yes, elementary, my dear Watson. Like,
or it's that meme with a girl and all the numbers are going.
Yeah. So the mechanics I really like. Overall, they tied it to like a cyberpunky art theme. So I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed looking at the little graphics and everything. So really, I think it could fit with any theming though.
I really like the deduction and then the strategy aspect of it. I like that once you figure out the code, there's still more to do. It's not just ooh, I have the code, I have it first and I win, because you don't have that race to figure out the code. You still want to know the code, but then once you know it, then you also have to do some other actions afterwards to actually win the game.
Yeah, I'll change my answer to that.
So what did you not like about the game?
I will say, when you're doing the strategy part and you know the other person's like code, now it's like, okay, I know what I need. There's no way for me to get it. So then it's like, well, what do I do now? I think I was kind of lost in that moment sometimes.
I do want to say there are some times when you're playing this game where you can be like, oh, I do know the code and I can't. There are some options with the deck that we have of being able to go after the cards that you need. However, sometimes you're just like, the cards don't exist. They might be in the encrypted section. They might be his guards that are face down. I have no idea. I just can't get the cards that I need in order to go after them, so there's no way for me to win. So I'll put down 3 guards. Well, then if he has 3 guards and we both don't solve the problem, then we tie. And there's no tiebreaker beyond the 3 guards and the 3 guards. So there could be a point where no one can win if you just end up tying all the time. Oh, I know your code. We both have 3 guards, but I can't get the card that I need to defeat you. So it's a tie. And that probably will happen more often the more times that you play it, because once you get the strategies down, you'll probably start figuring out the codes really quickly, which is why I want to find out more. I want to discover more from what they have in the Kickstarter. I want to have the other sets. Again, we were only given one of the sets, so I want to see how the other cards can change up the gameplay and how you can add some variety and maybe help with some of those issues as far as, okay, well, I know the code, I can't get the cards that I need, or the cards that I need aren't available, et cetera, et cetera.
Overall, I think it just hits that core like of deduction games where it's like, okay, I know this answer because I'm very smart and I reached all these conclusions. Count it.
Overall, I really enjoyed a lot about this game. I like that it is the deduction. I like that it is the strategy. I want to see more, so it succeeds in that. We got the little deck, and it's kind of like that. Ooh, here, have a little taste,
yeah.
and then you can play some more. Ooh, try it out. So it definitely makes me. I know that on the Kickstarter they'll have a couple options. I definitely would want to get the option that includes as much stuff as possible, because I do want to add that variety and change it up and really make it interesting discovering that code. So I like a lot of what's here. I want to see more. And that was our preview of Classified Information.
What'd you think? Are you ready to accept this mission? Let us know in the comments below.
Once again, we'd like to thank the creators for sending us a copy so that we could do this preview video. If you'd like to find out more information, check out the links in our description below. And if you're enjoying our content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
And I'm Kenny. And go party like a board gamer.